Now this last video on section 1.1 is about absolute values. The absolute value is a very simple idea. Basically, it's just making anything positive. So the absolute value of -3, we write it like this, with these straight lines here around the -3. So that's the absolute value of -3 is 3. It just makes this negative number positive. -3 becomes +3. In the same way, the absolute value of -19 becomes 19. Absolute value of -3.2 is 3.2. But if it's already positive, the absolute value of 7 is just 7. Absolute value of 142 is just still 142. So it's very straightforward. The properties of absolute values, well, it's always going to be positive, and that's what this means here. The absolute value of anything is going to be bigger than 0. The absolute value of -x is the same as the absolute value of x. The absolute value of a product is going to be the same as the absolute value of the individual things multiplied together. And the same thing for dividing. We can verify certain things with that. We can verify this, or we can check this for this particular example here. If we look at this thing here, well, is that the same as the absolute value of -18 over the absolute value of 6? Because that's what we need to try and check here. Well, absolute value of -18 has to be 18, so it's going to be 18 over 6. So yeah, it's the same thing. Right? The absolute value of -18 you can see is 18. It's going to be 18 over 6 from here and from here. That's going to be equal to 3, and that's the same as what you would get if you did the absolute value of 18 over 6. 18 over 6 would be -3. Absolute value of -3 would be 3. So it's the same thing. Now we're asked here in this next example to give a counterexample to this. Right? We're wondering if this thing here is true or false. So we need to give a counterexample, something that shows that it's false. And what we can do is just take a value of a that's negative. Right? Take a value of a that's equal to -2. -2 times the absolute value of 3 is not the same as the absolute value of -2 times 3. The absolute value of -2 times 3 is -6. Absolute value of -6 is 6. So this statement here is false. We've kind of shown it with this counterexample. Now, that absolute value of x that we have here, we can define it as the distance between x and 0. Now, the absolute value of a number is just the distance on the number line between that value and 0 on the number line. In the same way, the absolute value of x minus y is just the distance between x and y on a number line. So the absolute value of 9 minus 2 is the same as the absolute value of 2 minus 9, because 2 and 9 are the same. 2 is the same distance from 9 as 9 is from 2. It's like asking, what's the distance from Geneva to Versoix? Well, it's the same as the distance from Versoix to Geneva, so it has to be the same value.